brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. The Doors. The Doors were an American rock band formed in 1965 in Los Angeles, with vocalist Jim Morrison, keyboardist Ray Manzarek, guitarist Robby Krieger, and drummer John Densmore. The band got its name, at Morrison's suggestion, from the title of Aldous Huxley's book The Doors of Perception, which itself was a reference to a quote made by William Blake: "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is infinite." They were unique, and among the most controversial and influential rock acts of the 1960s, mostly because of Morrison's lyrics and charismatic, but unpredictable stage persona. After Morrison's death in 1971 at age 27, the remaining members continued as a trio until disbanding in 1973. Signing with Elektra Records in 1966, The Doors released 8 albums between 1967 and 1971. All but one hit the top 10 on the Billboard 200 and went platinum or better. Their self-titled debut album was their first in a series of top 10 albums in the United States, followed by Strange Days, Waiting for the Sun, The Soft Parade, Morrison Hotel, Absolutely Live, and LA Woman, with 20 gold, 14 platinum, 5 multi-platinum, and 1 diamond album awards in the United States alone. By the end of 1971, it was reported that The Doors had sold 4,190,457 albums domestically and 7,750,642 singles. The band had 3 million selling singles in the US with Light My Fire, Hello, I Love You, and Touch Me. After Morrison's death in 1971, the surviving trio released 2 albums, The Voices and Full Circle, with Manzarek and Krieger sharing lead vocals. The 3 members also collaborated on the spoken word recording of Morrison's An American Prayer in 1978 and on the Orange County Suite for a 1997 boxed set. Manzarek, Krieger, and Densmore reunited in 2000 for an episode of VH1's Storytellers, and subsequently recorded Stoned Immaculate, the music of The Doors, with a variety of vocalists. Although The Doors' active career ended in 1973, their popularity has persisted. According to the RIAA, they have sold 33 million certified units in the US and over 100 million records worldwide, making them one of the best-selling bands of all time. The Doors have been listed as one of the greatest artists of all time by many magazines, including Rolling Stone, which ranked them 41st on its list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. The Doors were the first American band to accumulate 8 consecutive gold and platinum LPs. In 2002, Manzarek and Krieger started playing together again, renaming themselves as The Doors of the 21st Century, with Ian Astbury of The Cult on vocals. Densmore opted to sit out and, along with the Morrison estate, sued the duo over proper use of the band's name and won. After a short time as Riders on the Storm, they settled on the name Manzarek Krieger and continued to tour until Manzarek's death in 2013 at the age of 74. 3 of the band's studio albums, the self-titled debut, LA Woman, and Strange Days, were featured in Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time, at positions 42, 362, and 407 respectively. According to the Washington Post's Martin Weil, the band rose to the center of the counterculture of the 1960s. The Doors were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1993. Origins and information. The origins of The Doors began with a meeting between acquaintances Jim Morrison and Ray Manzarek, both of whom had attended the UCLA School of Theatre, Film and Television on Venice Beach in July 1965. Morrison told Manzarek he had been writing songs and, with Manzarek's encouragement, sang Moonlight Drive. The members came from a varied musical background of jazz, rock, blues, and folk idioms. Keyboardist Manzarek was in a band called Rick and the Ravens with his brothers Rick and Jim, while drummer John Densmore was playing with the Psychedelic Rangers and knew Manzarek from meditation classes. In August, Densmore joined the group, which had been renamed The Doors, and the Five, along with bass player Patty Sullivan, recorded a six-song demo in September 1965. This has circulated widely since then as a bootleg recording. The band took their name from the title of Aldous Huxley's book The Doors of Perception, itself derived from a line in William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is infinite. In mid-1965, after Manzarek's two brothers left, the group recruited guitarist Robby Krieger, and the best-known lineup, Morrison, Manzarek, Krieger and Densmore, was complete. By 1966, the group was playing the Los Angeles club London Fog. The club was not as prestigious as the Whiskey A Go-Go and did not attract many customers. The Doors used the nearly empty club as an opportunity to hone and, in some cases, lengthen their songs and work the end, When the Music's Over and Light My Fire into musical epics. The Doors soon graduated to the more esteemed Whiskey A Go-Go, where they were the house band, supporting acts including Van Morrison's group Them. On the last night together, the two bands joined up for In the Midnight Hour and a 20-minute jam session of Them's Gloria. Prior to graduating to the Whiskey A Go-Go, Morrison went to many record labels trying to land a deal. He did score one at Columbia Records, but it did not pan out. Prior to that, The Doors' first recording was a demo they did for Richard Bock's Pacific Jazz Records subsidiary label, Aura Records, recorded on September 2, 1965. On August 10, they were spotted by Elektra Records president Jack Holzman, who was present at the recommendation of love singer Arthur Lee, whose group was with Elektra Records. After Holzman and producer Paul A. Rothchild saw two sets of the band playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go, they signed them to the Elektra Records label on August 18, the start of a long and successful partnership with Rothchild and engineer Bruce Botnick. The Doors were fired from the Whiskey on August 21, 1966, when Morrison added an explicit retelling and profanity-laden version of the Greek myth of Oedipus during The End debut album. The band recorded their first album from August 24 to 31, 1966, at Sunset Sound Recording Studios. The Doors' self-titled debut LP was released in the first week of January 1967. It featured most of the major songs from their set, including the nearly 12-minute musical drama, The End. In November 1966, Mark Abramson directed a promotional film for the lead single, Break On Through. To promote the single, The Doors made their television debut on a Los Angeles TV show called Boss City circa 1966, possibly early 1967, and then on a Los Angeles TV show called Shebang, miming to Break On Through, on New Year's Day 1967. This clip has never been officially released by The Doors. In early 1967, The Doors appeared on The Clay Cole Show, where they performed their single, Break On Through. Research has determined that the tapes were all wiped. The only shows that still exist are the final ones copied by an employee of the station, although this was long after the Doors' appearance. The Doors returned to the Clay Cole Show a second time on June 24, where they most likely performed "Light My Fire." Since "Break On Through" was not very successful on the radio, the band turned to "Light My Fire." The problem with this song was that it was 7 minutes long. So producer Paul Rothchild cut it down to 3 minutes by radically cutting the lengthy keyboard and guitar solos in the center section. "Light My Fire" became the first single from Elektra Records to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 Singles chart, selling over 1 million copies. "Light My Fire" was the first song ever written by Robby Krieger, and was the beginning of the band's success. Early live recordings at the Matrix. From March 7 to 11, 1967, the Doors performed at the Matrix Club in San Francisco, California. The March 7 and 10 shows were recorded by a co-owner of the Matrix, Peter Abram. These recordings are notable as they are among the earliest live recordings of the band to circulate. On November 18, 2008, the Doors published a compilation of these recordings, live at the Matrix 1967, on the band's boutique Bright Midnight Archives label. Early television performances. The Doors appeared on American television on August 25, 1967. Guest starring on the variety TV series Malibu U, performing "Light My Fire." They did not appear live. The band is seen on a beach and is performing the song in playback. The music video did not gain any commercial success and the performance was more or less forgotten. It was not until they appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show that they gained attention on television. The Doors made their international television debut in May 1967, recording a version of "The End" for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation at O'Keefe Centre in Toronto. But after its initial broadcasts, the performance remained unreleased except in bootleg form until the release of the Doors' soundstage performances DVD in 2002. As "Light My Fire" climbed the charts in June and early July, the Doors were on the East Coast as an opening act for Simon and Garfunkel in Forest Hills, Queens, and as headliners in a Greenwich, Connecticut high school auditorium. On September 17, 1967, the Doors gave a memorable performance of "Light My Fire" on The Ed Sullivan Show. According to Ray Manzarek, network executives asked that the word "higher" be removed. The group appeared to acquiesce, but performed the song in its original form, because either they had never intended to comply with the request or Jim Morrison was nervous and forgot to make the change. Either way, "Higher" was sung out on national television, and the show's host, Ed Sullivan, cancelled another 6 shows that had been planned, after the program's producer told the band they would never play on the show again. Jim Morrison reportedly replied, "Hey man, we just did the Sullivan Show." On December 24, the Doors performed "Light My Fire" and "Moonlight Drive" live for the Jonathan Winters Show. Their performance was taped for later broadcast. From December 26 to 28, the group played at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco. An excerpt taken from Stephen Davis's book on Jim Morrison, "The Next Night at Winterland." A TV set was wheeled on stage during the Doors set so the band could see themselves on the Jonathan Winters Show. They stopped playing "Backdoor Man" when their song came on. The audience watched the Doors watching themselves on TV. They finished the song when their bit was done, and Ray walked over and turned the TV off. The next night was the last ever in Winterland. They played 2 more dates in Denver on December 30 and 31, 1967, capping off a year of almost constant touring. Strange Days. The Doors spent several weeks in Sunset Studios in Los Angeles recording their second album, Strange Days, experimenting with the new technology, notably the Moog synthesizer they now had available. The commercial success of Strange Days was middling, peaking at number 3 on the Billboard album chart, but quickly dropping, along with a series of underperforming singles. The chorus from the album's single, People Are Strange, inspired the name of the 2010 documentary of The Doors, When You're Strange. Although session musician Larry Knechtel had been featured on bass on several tracks on the band's debut album, Strange Days was the first Doors album recorded with a studio musician on bass on most of the tracks, and this continued on all subsequent studio albums. Manzarek explained that his keyboard bass was well suited for live situations, but that it lacked the articulation needed for studio recording. Douglas Luban played on Strange Days and the next 2 albums, but the band used several other musicians for this role, often using more than one bassist on the same album. Kerry Magnus, Leroy Vinegar, Harvey Brooks, Ray Neapolitan, Lonnie Mac, Jerry Sheff, Jack Conrad, Chris Etheridge, Charles Larkey, and Leland Sklar are credited as bassists who worked with the band. New Haven incident. On December 9, 1967, The Doors performed a now infamous concert at New Haven Arena in New Haven, Connecticut, which ended abruptly when Morrison was arrested by local police. Morrison became the first rock artist ever to be arrested on stage during a concert performance. Morrison had been making out with a girl fan backstage in a bathroom shower stall prior to the start of the concert when a police officer happened upon them. Unaware that he was the lead singer of the band about to perform, the officer told Morrison and the girl to leave, to which Morrison said, "Eat it." The policeman took out a can of mace and warned Morrison, "Last chance," to which Morrison replied, "Last chance to eat it." There is some discrepancy as to what happened next. According to No One Here Gets Out Alive, the girl ran and Morrison was massed, but Manzarek recounts in his book that both Jim and the fan were sprayed. The Doors' main act was delayed for an hour while Jim recovered, after which the Doors took the stage very late. According to an authenticated fan account that Robby Krieger posted to his Facebook page, the police still did not consider the issue resolved, and wanted to charge him. Halfway through the first set, Morrison proceeded to create an improvised song about his experience with the Little Men in Blue. It was an obscenity-laced account to the audience, describing what had happened backstage and taunting the police, who were surrounding the stage. The concert was abruptly ended when Morrison was dragged off stage by the police. The audience, which was already restless from waiting so long for the band to perform, became unruly. Morrison was taken to a local police station, photographed and booked on charges of inciting a riot, indecency, and public obscenity. Charges against Morrison, as well as those against 3 journalists also arrested in the incident, were dropped several weeks later for lack of evidence. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.